Final Fantasy XIV has incredible potential. If Square Enix sticks the landing with upcoming content like the crafting and gathering focused cosmic exploration and the combat-oriented Bosja-esque Occult Crescent, then I think 7.2 will go down as one of my favorite patches I've ever played in this game. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and 7.2 has blown away my wildest expectations so far. Now, it's not without its faults, the release schedule of content being a hot topic for a while now, and we'll get into that, but the stuff we have so far that's truly important, that being the main story MSQ and the raid tier of the Arcadian, those nailed it for me. Out of the park. The main story felt like the best story experience I've had in this game since the days of 6.0 in terms of overall structure and pacing. Was it a tad slow in the beginning? Yeah, sure. But I can forgive that because of how they were developing various concepts that would be utilized later. And I would imagine in 7.3, on top of building up the character of Sphene, it was focused, had a goal it wanted to accomplish, and did not deviate from delivering on that goal. There was no awkward side quest feeling arc just slapped in the middle. Dialogue felt far more in line with what I fell in love with this game for way back when, instead of the more trope-focused, hyper-repetitive storytelling I felt 7.0 and parts of 7.1 had. The Arcadian was just a normal raid tier, but I felt it was a super compelling one. I enjoyed each of the fights on offer, not just in terms of the mechanics going on, but the pacing, the vibe, the story that wove between each of the fights, and the music captured my attention, and I was fully on board with it. Combining one of my favorite story updates with one of my favorite normal mode tiers I've ever played has left a strong impression with me. I haven't been as excited not just for Final Fantasy XIV, but also its future in quite a while. After the contentious start to Dawntrail alongside its first large patch with 7.1, Final Fantasy XIV needed a winner, and it got as close to that as it realistically could at this point in time. For a game that has always been focused on its story, both its main story and its side stories, that needed to land, and I think it did. But a game is more than just a story, especially Final Fantasy XIV, and while its gameplay can sometimes be downplayed by some people, I believe when 14's gameplay is on point, it can be really dang good. And while the Arcadian is a ton of fun, most eyes are on the rest of 7.2, Cosmic Exploration for crafting and gathering, and the Occult Crescent for more day-to-day combat-oriented content that should help remind players that this is an MMO at the end of it all. You know, it's a bit of a funny situation where for the future, I've argued that these types of content need to come online earlier, not just in the patch cycle, but the expansion cycle as well. This is a game with a monthly sub, and people want that sub to feel worth it. They want to play this game, and I think simply trying to write off such complaints with a, if you don't like it, just unsub, is not tackling the real problem at hand. People feel this way, in my eyes at least, because they want to play one of their favorite games. They want to play Final Fantasy XIV, because when 14 is good, it's really dang good. So while the start of this patch, in my opinion, is one of the best versions of itself I could have asked for, not getting those pieces of content will sour some smiles relatively quickly once the dust settles. I mean, if you're not diving into Savage. But it kind of works out for me in a funny, like, cosmic sort of way, because I'm also really interested in playing more Monster Hunter and Xenoblade right now. So not having the time-intensive content at the start of the patch kinda works out for me. However, I've brought this up before. If this release schedule issue isn't addressed in the future, we will, and Square Enix will, find themselves in the same exact situation come 8.x, where people want more new, fresh, exciting content to sink their teeth into, and they just don't have that. Now, having said that, I hope we can acknowledge that while that is an issue, and something that should be addressed for the future, that's not going to change anything in the here and now. I can't just like wish a wish upon a fish and magically this game has more content right now. That's just like not how it works. And yeah, while this has been the norm for Final Fantasy XIV for a while at this point, I am not of the opinion that just because something is routine, that it should be accepted or celebrated. The game should strive to grow and to be better with each expansion, not just make a bunch of lateral moves. But like, let's circle back to a point that I previously mentioned. Dawntrail is lined up to have a bunch of content when all is said and done. Occult Crescent, Cosmic Exploration, a new deep dungeon, New Criterion Dungeon, and Beastmaster are, to my understanding, all lined up for the remainder of this expansion. That is quite a bit of content, and while we don't know when all of it's necessarily coming out, if that content is good, like I've talked about before, I imagine overall sentiment will continue to increase, especially after how good the story has been in 7.2, and if that becomes the norm, then I think we're cooking. And again, this is just about the remainder of Dawntrail. And here's another element. All of this content is lining up to come out after Final Fantasy XIV has seemingly made a massive shift in its storytelling and tone with 7.2's MSQ and Arcadian stories. And if that tone, that style of storytelling becomes the norm from here on out, and we don't just fall back to the way 7.0 and parts of 7.1 felt, it gives me a sense of optimism for the state this content will find itself when it comes out, coupled alongside the reward structure of something like the Chaotic Raid. So if the reward structure, the pieces of content continue to improve as this game goes on, alongside its story, alongside, in my opinion, fight design, which has been easily one of the best elements in Dawntrail so far, things are starting to fall into place. And while again, we can acknowledge that the release schedule is far from ideal, if the content itself is good when it comes out, that at the end of the day will be the most important element. Not the only element, mind you, but it'll be a large slice of the pie. Good content later is better than subpar content sooner. Genuinely, I think Final Fantasy XIV has turned a corner. Now, time will tell if that is to a beautiful Elysian field or brick wall. We just run right into it, teeth shattering, blood gushing everywhere. But if they keep up this pace, and like I said before, if 7.2 and the quality of the MSQ, that becomes the normal, that bolsters everything else, alongside better fight design. And if at some point they address a lot of complaints with job design, that'd be swell. But yeah, I gotta wait till 8.0, that's still a long ways off. But if content overall is better designed from here on out, coupled with better storytelling, better writing overall across the board, these things work with each other. I'm looking forward to what comes next. Yeah, sure, it got kind of dark there for a bit, but it's nice to not only feel hope, but see them back it up with what we have in 7.2 so far. If you nail Cosmic Exploration, and while I personally am not too excited for it because crafting and gathering have never really been my wheelhouse when it comes to MMORPGs, I did enjoy Ishgard quite a bit. I put quite a bit of time into Ishgard, and if this can be a better version of that, then thumbs up. And if Occult Crescent can be a better version of Bosja and or Eureka, then again, thumbs up. If Occult Crescent seemingly dealing with War of the Magi stuff for its story, a beloved element to Final Fantasy XIV's backstory, and Cosmic Exploration came out earlier, there's a chance their storytelling would be more in line with 7.0 and 7.1. But if now, because of their delayed release, they are more in line with the quality we have with 7.2, with better writing, better dialogue, and more focused narrative, then there's a funny interpretation of the content cadence so far that we will end up with, in my eyes, better content because of that. Or I'm just talking out of both of my cheeks, because who knows? But I think it's interesting to think about at least. It's not like they started work entirely, I'd assume, or at least hope, on any of this stuff the moment 7.1 launched, MSQ included, but you got to imagine, as is seemingly evident with the quality of 7.2's story, that I've talked about before, feels low-key kind of jarring compared to 7.1 and 7.0, that some changes were made in accordance with feedback coming from 7.0 and 7.1, and hopefully that feedback found its way to both the stories behind Cosmic Exploration and the Occult Crescent. And if it has, then in a weird Cosmic Exploration, get it, sort of way, maybe the content will be better because of the wait. It would be really funny if it kind of worked out that way. Final Fantasy XIV turned this corner when it came to its storytelling far faster than I ever thought it would. And while yeah, there's a funny parallel you can draw to Stormblood, where a lot of people weren't particularly satisfied with 4.0, and then you had 4.1, then 4.2 and 4.3, and then the lead up to Shadowbringers. There is that funny little parallel you could possibly draw here with Dawntrail, and I hope it pans out to be true, because the post-patches of Stormblood, some of my favorite storytelling this game has ever had. I love it to death. And if Dawntrail goes in that direction, I'm fully on board. And with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Leave a comment down below with if you have been as impressed with 7.2 as I have been, and what do you think they still really need to improve on? I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video and you want to see more content. I know I would appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again!